So you're still recording it at your place? Or you go to a nice studio now?
No, I'm like doing Zoom. Who knows? I'm reckless. Wherever the energy goes.
Sure.
Zoom is hard.
Recording, not recording, whatever. Zoom.
Our Zooms have not been great.
Your mic sucks.
Yeah.
Zoom lacks intimacy.
I'm not. Yes, yeah. And sometimes I feel like our Zooms, when we had done it just with the two of us, are okay. But sometimes we've had guests where I feel like we could get more out of them if we were.
If you don't know the person, it's so hard to butter them up to be like open, vulnerable, and weird, because you just feel like you're on a conference call.
Or like jab them. I like to do a little teasing. And on Zoom, sometimes they're like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
they can't feel. It's like a text message. You're like, was that sarcastic?
Yes.
But I also do think that comedy is all timing, and Zoom fucks your timing up because either they can't hear what you said or it's delayed by a second. And I remember in being one that was like delayed by 2 seconds, and I'm like, I'm gonna sound like I bomb every single time I say everything because there's gonna be a 3-second wait, and then she goes.
Well, that's why I don't like your mic. Russell is really the laugher of the two of us. He's also the laugh track of this podcast. And like something about the mic. Here's how he laughs. Here's his mic here, and his mic is stationary. It's not handheld. So lovely was to go.
Nope.
And on the Zoom, it's And on the pod, it says nothing.
Yeah,
and it's me pausing for a long time. Like, thank you.
Sit down.
Yes, I have a theory. The best pods have like the best laughers.
I agree.
Some podcasts are not even funny, but you're like, we laughed so much together.
Yeah.
Pete Holmes, it's one of these things. Pete Holmes just laughs the whole time, and you're like, I don't know if he's killing or he's like, I can't tell. But it all sounds good.
That's why I never knew if a date was going well, because I'm a nervous laugher. And I'm like, did he really make me laugh, or was I just like super anxious the whole time?
Yeah.
That's true.
Oh, that's interesting.
And
I don't mean to get you guys nervous regretting all your dates if you're actually funny or not.
No, I have my fake laugh is really like it's a very royal. It's
yeah, you have
like a James Bond villain.
Yeah. You have a quiet one too. Like that's when you're like low energy and doing it. Is that?
Yeah. But that can be real. You have what's your
you
fake
just
laugh,
did it in the kitchen
though?
before, and I could tell
I'm terrified.
you were doing it. I could tell that you were like not really checked in, and you were like on your phone. You're like, and I said something. You're like, and I was like, no, that's your fake.
Your best friend knows your different kinds of laughs, and they know when that shit's fake.
Yeah. What's your fake laugh though?
Is
it the wheeze laugh?
It can be, but it also can be real.
Okay.
I can manipulate it.
Oh wow.
So you'll never know. No, I try not to though. I feel like
do it for me. Fake it.
I don't. No. Now I'm in my head about it. Now I'm in my head and then thinking that everything's fake.
I feel like when I go for the ha ha type laugh, like if I'm like ha ha ha, that's fake.
Yes.
But if you're just making weird ass noises, like it's like an orgasm. If it sounds too perfect when you orgasm, that shit was fake. Like if she sounds a little weird when she's orgasming.
She's articulating?
Yeah, if she's like, oh yes, that's the right, oh. It needs to be like, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to The Downside. My name is Gianmarco Soresi. I'm here with my co-host, Russell Daniels.
Hello.
How are you doing? And we're joined today by a stand-up comedian, podcaster. Is reality star, is that something you like, or do you wish you could, like, do you not want that as part of your...
It's part of my journey, for sure. I recently have left it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that is part of who I am, too, like a survivor, a reality TV survivor, I like to say. You have to embrace it, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
So
I just got to imagine, I don't want to speak out of turn, but if I was a survivor of the Holocaust, I'd say, no, pick a different word for the reality TV show you got to
I do think if people watched it, they would say, she nailed that.
This is The Downside. Your name, Hannah Berner!
Oh my gosh, so good.
You're listening to The Downside. The Downside. With Gianmarco Soresi.
Well, this is going to be a lot of fun. I always forget this part. This is The Downside. Welcome. We explore the negativity. We I know you're a little bit Jewish, and we're going to lean into the Judaism today. It's very exciting. It's matzah pizza. Did you ever use that term?
Like pizza bagel.
Pizza bagel.
Yeah.
Lucas Arnold, he's a TikTok guy. He came up with mozzarella stick. Matzah.
Yes.
Mozzarella stick.
Yeah.
And it went viral. It did better than it did here.
Can I say one thing before we start?
Please.
I don't think I've ever told you this, but a couple years ago, before I started comedy, I went to a bar and there were some comics, and you were one of them.
Oh my goodness!
Wow. And I thought you were the best in the lineup.
Oh,
that's the nicest thing you did.
Wow.
I do, and you did this like shampoo bit.
The Axe body spray.
I remember it.
Shampoo,
It was
yeah.
that
I'm
good that
still
I
doing
remembered it. Yeah, you're still doing it. And I have to say, it's a classic. It'll never be bad. And I remember thinking that your energy was so different than the other comics and that just the way you performed, it was a bar where you can get distracted by anything and everyone was locking eyes. And I just I'll always remember that.
That's very
so
kind.
nice.
That's very that energy. Some comedy clubs have called it 2 one-man show.
Yeah.
So
See, I was all about it. I was all about it. Because, some people, you're like, oh, this joke could be done by so many people, where I think only you could really pull off.
my
Yeah.
God.
That's
I mean
so
that in the best
sweet.
thing to
way.
say.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
And I don't mean that in the like you're unique in a weird way. I mean it like you're special, like a good special. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. It's going on the website right after this.
But now we can get negative.
Yes.
Now let's shit on each other.
Nice. Well, I wanted to talk about this gig that I had. I had a corporate gig, and I'm going to try to stay vague. But this was so this is my downside. This was I don't do a lot of research. It's the most I've ever been paid for a corporate gig. I was just featuring. It was just 25 minutes. My mom took me. It was a casino. And
because you were in
Your mom took
California.
you.
What? Because you were in California.
I went to California to do this gig.
Yes.
It's like 2 hours north of LA, and my mom drove me. I can't drive, so it was
Same.
yeah, no. But you grew up in the area. You deserve it. I don't.
Okay.
But so I'm going to the casino, and like right before, I'm like doing my last minute research. I'm not gonna. It's 25 minutes. I can fill that anytime. But 1 or 2 jokes. Hard to understand what the company is. It's not quite a company. It's like an organization or a group. I'm like reading their bio.
Was it a cult?
Not
Mid-level
necessarily.
marketing scheme?
So I find the newsletter. I find their newsletter, and
You
I
sent
just
it
look
to
at
me.
the titles. And these are the titles verbatim. So it goes, are the treatments as dangerous as the virus? So immediately I go,
Pause.
immediately. And
It's
I'm
like
like,
the Mona Lisa face, just.
and I'm in heavy denial. I'm
And,
like,
you know how much they're paying you.
Well, this
and
is
you're
the thing.
like,
yeah.
When it's the certain amount of money, you purposely don't do the research because you don't want to
you
have
don't
an
want
excuse.
to. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like a con. You know they're conning you, but you don't want to believe it.
Yeah, and I've
Yeah.
performed at Connect. I've performed for plenty of politically different groups.
Yeah.
But so okay, so that was the first one. Then Sacramento's homeless street vagrants live under separate set of laws, and I'm like, vagrants. I don't like
That
calling
word.
homeless people vagrants. Reading about your travel destination has been taken over by wokeness. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Then to round it out, worry about the intellectual climate, not climate change. And I'm like, fuck, what the fuck am I going into? I'm nervous. I feel guilty. I was with my mom, and I was like, Mom, am I a bad person? Should I? And I know in my head, I'm not going to leave. I'm not
You're
going to
like, do these
leave.
Right,
people deserve
no.
to laugh?
Yes.
Well, and there were weird things happening there
So
too, right?
I get
they
there.
were,
100, I mean, about 800, maybe 600, about 400 cowboy hats, not one horse.
Oh, no.
And my mom and I are the only Jews in this room, for sure.
Oh, no.
And so they come up to me, and I think the thing is when you're performing for people who disagree with you, they're so sweet to you. They go, thank you for being here. We loved your video online. Thank you. And I'm
what
like,
video did they see?
who knows?
Okay.
Whatever
Maybe it
my
was
agency
something you were
has on
being
the,
ironic and they thought it was serious.
maybe, but they should have known.
Sounds
Yeah.
like you both didn't do your research.
There you go. I think we're both.
Yeah.
And so they're so nice to me. They're so sweet, and I'm like feeling like I'm like. So then I start looking at the first. There's a country person playing music on stage,
Sure.
and he tells me the rundown, and he's like, like any good comedy show, there's going to be a national anthem, and then there's going to be an auction, and I
I
looked.
thought you were going to say a prayer.
Oh, it was even worse. This felt more like this. So I would have preferred a prayer.
Yeah.
For yourself, please help me get through
Yes.
this without them finding out I'm
my-
Jewish.
and I look at the auction list. I'd say about half the auction was for guns. Glock 19, shotguns, and if it wasn't for guns, it was for like training with a former SWAT team leader. You and a group of 8 friends can learn how to barge in on someone you think might have drugs. That's not what it. But I'm saying
Yeah.
it was It was auctioning off guns. They had the person there, a police officer there, who would give you your background check at the event, so you could
It's like a COVID test, but for guns.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
Yes,
A rapid test for guns.
yes. And the Glock 19 went for $20,000.
What?
Wow. I mean, I'm from New York City, so I'm very bad with like the rest of the country and understanding. I'm a stupid city hick, but this is on the coast.
Yeah, this is California.
Yeah, but California's
But
big,
it's
man.
outside of
big.
LA.
It's 2
Yes.
hours out, but it's so funny. It's on the coast. Even if you did your research, it doesn't sound like you would have known.
But
No.
I was
You weren't- yeah.
I was shooting a General Electric commercial once in California when I remember it was outside of California. I was with a bunch of blue collar workers, and Chris Christie had just endorsed Donald Trump. This is so 2016 or whatever, 2015. And I said to the room, I was like, "Ugh, do you see this? Chris Christie just endorsed Trump." And this older guy was like, "What's wrong with that?" And I was like, "Right." I have grown up in Washington, D.C. I've been in theater. I went to New York. Miami. I've lived in liberal areas.
Yeah.
I'm not used to
You're
being in a room full of people who politically disagree with me on everything.
It's crazy too. Like you look at your Instagram feed. Like I grew up in New York.
Yeah.
I went to Madison, Wisconsin, which again very liberal, but outside would have been different. I'm from Park Slope. That's like
Yeah.
they created like granola.
Yeah.
So you're seeing this perspective, and you have to hear from other people about like different perspectives too. So you almost feel closed off in your perspective from what you're looking at online, depending on your friendship.
Yeah. And I just don't know how, like, I didn't have moral. I was thinking the whole time, I was like, what would have to happen for me to not do this gig right now? Like would they have to start auctioning off Klan robes? Would that be my line?
Yeah.
I'm like, what would be my line?
Yeah, because you'd keep finding ways to be like, well, I'm not going to be part of it when I go up there, and maybe I can stick it to
cross
them in a
burning,
way.
I'll be off the
like, I'll make
stage at that
jokes
point.
and like, you know,
Yeah. So then I look at the playbill and it says the comedy
The
portion,
playbill.
The playbill. The comedy portion listing my name and the other comedian is brought to you by ExxonMobil. So ExxonMobil specifically has donated whatever amount of money
For
that
comedy.
was going directly to me. And I'm like, oh my God.
You're like a politician.
Gianmarco,
You're like a dirty
you are
politician.
So bad.
Yeah.
And that's when I had like posted on Instagram about the event, and then immediately I was like, no, I can't let people know I'm performing.
Well, it wasn't required for you to promote it, was it?
No, but I thought it was like funny. Like I thought
Yeah.
the national anthem thing was kind of funny, and then I was like, oh, someone's gonna look up this company and go like,
Yeah.
they.
But this is the thing. There's a lot of comics out here, I feel like, who hate their fans.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to be in that mentality where like, or you're one of these comics that they know there's a low common denominator that they're hitting on,
Yeah.
and embrace it.
Yeah.
And you can't help who thinks you're funny.
Yeah.
It's not your fault that you're so funny in a wide range.
I know. And also it's clean. So squeaky clean. But there's part of me that's like, I need to take the piss out of them just once.
Yes.
For my comic sensibility.
Yes.
And I'm nervous, and I'm like, I want my agents to be happy, but then there's like, but I want to be brave. And so the joke that immediately comes to mind, I have this joke, which I stopped doing because it's on the Amazon thing. It's about Titanic 2. There's a guy who's recreating the Titanic, and the joke is it's going to go along the exact same route as the original because global warming made it safer. And it's just a small joke, but then I have the bit. I put it on my little machine. This is what I did. Titanic 2. Did you guys hear about this? I'm not making this up. I'm not making it up. There's this Australian billionaire. He's recreated the Titanic. It's going to go along the exact same route as the original because the iceberg's got a lot smaller, thanks to my sponsor, ExxonMobil. And take a joke. So it was
What a journey that laughter was.
Yeah.
I know.
Because they did
Full
laugh.
storyline.
They did laugh.
So they
They
initially.
laughed and then they realized,
And then they were like,
fuck.
no.
They laughed, and then the sound started, and you're like,
What was that sound?
This is not laughter. What is this? And then like because I think like these white people, because it was all white.
Yeah.
They have not been to the Apollo before, so they haven't. I don't think they've booed ever. So it's like a
didn't
baby
even know how
discovering
to
the word.
boo.
They're like,
But the best is the initial reaction.
Yeah.
That's the authentic reaction, not when they're like, oh, shoot, my boss is behind me.
Yeah.
But
Shocked laughter.
I love that you did that because there's also a part of you when you have that many people that disagree with your views that you're like, maybe if I say the right thing, I could turn them. You're like, maybe if I just put it in a perspective they've never heard, I could get all these people to see my perspective.
yeah. And then one ExxonMobil person came up to me and my mother, and they thought my mom was my girlfriend, which flattered her very much. And said that they, whether they're full of shit or not, they said like, we do believe we're trying these new programs and it's the higher ups. They kind of blame the higher ups and they were like, we're environmentally whatever. And then my mom, who used to be a lawyer, was like, oh, it's fine. I used to defend ExxonMobil. And I was like, Mom, God damn it. What the fuck?
Oh, man.
We're a conservative family.
Oh my God. Well, that's the problem with environmentalism. If you really pick apart all your shit, you're fucking something.
For
something's
sure.
being fucked over. So it depends on your perspective. Like, are you good because at least you're trying this? Because no one's 100% clean. If you want to cancel anyone, you could cancel anyone.
Yeah.
I used to, when people were over here and I had to pee, I would turn on the shower because I don't like them to hear me. And someone once called me out on that. They were like, you're wasting water. But you know who called me out? They had a kid. And I was like, fuck you. You have a kid. If you have a kid,
You're
you don't
wasting
get to say
people.
fucking shit to me.
Yeah.
You don't get to say shit to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my story. It's just like one of those.
That was really fun.
Was there any, besides the ExxonMobil, was there anyone else that came up to you that was,
There were some people that were nice. Like, I don't know if there was a moment where whoever headlined it was clearly like, he's been doing it for years and he was fantastic and he's a real comic. And the guy, we were talking and the guy who ran it came up and said to him like, oh, you're so good. Good job again. We'll have you back next year. Kind of turned, saw that I was right there and like had like a glitch malfunction because he wasn't going to say that to me.
you. Yeah.
And nodded and just walked away immediately.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I didn't like crush the whole set.
Yeah.
I think I really let it freak me out a little bit, like not knowing. Like, clean and conservative crowd and in their 60s.
Yep.
Like all of a sudden my view of like what jokes would work got smaller and smaller. And I think I just kind of freaked myself out. So I didn't like crush.
Yeah, because you can't perform well when you're judging your joke while you're saying
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I also think it's one of those things where sometimes you low-key were probably happy they didn't want you back, maybe.
Yes,
Like you
yes.
took it as a compliment, but then there's like the money side to you that was like, damn, if I had this every year for 10 years, that would be steady.
And I want to
I mean,
believe,
there's
like,
plenty of banks and oil companies and NRAs that you can.
I try to think, like, what would you do in that situation? Would you have done the controversial joke?
No. Because, well, A of all, I don't have to stand up. But B of all,
if they asked you to do 25 minutes of characters.
Would you have done the controversial character?
I don't think so because I'm too much of a people pleaser. I think what you did was perfect because you did the job she signed up to do, and you didn't look into too much. So you're like, I didn't know I was going into it. You have that kind of thing, and then you fit a little joke in that kind of ribbed.
Yeah.
Do they just think
good.
all comics are like just saying whatever fucked up shit they want? And I don't know. Like, it's funny they didn't care your perspective on things.
Yeah, there's just
so
a certain
politically
kind of
backed.
comedy that they want, and it's hard because I am a good boy.
Yeah.
Like I do think,
You're a
but I
good
do
boy.
think like my agents or whether my college agents, like they know I'm gonna do the assignment. They know they're gonna send me somewhere. They're gonna get good feedback generally.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's just like as a comedian, it's like. I think the legendary
if you really
story.
have your own voice, not everyone's gonna.
Yeah. The famous story with Richard Pryor was like when he like became great was he was doing like some clean show in Vegas and said something along the lines of like, fuck you motherfuckers and left.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there's part of you that wants to do that. There's part of you that's like, I need money. This is a different time. There's a
You're
million
like, wait,
people.
when Richard Pryor did it, he exploded. So, what the fuck? There are those moments of like comics getting really angry and cursing people out and being like, this is epic. But that's probably been done hundreds of times, and that person, you just never hear from them again because they had a mental breakdown.
I'm sure Michael Richards thought like, this is the moment. This is the moment. I bet you if he had waited like 10 more years, there is that like super hardcore contingency that would have glommed onto him now.
Yeah.
He'd be on Joe Rogan the next day talking about it.
Oh my God. Yeah. I did watch that like documentary done by Jesse Kirsten about women in comedy.
Women in comedy, yeah.
Shoot, I forgot what it was called, but it's great on FX. And they
funny, something fun. I thought I had the word funny in
it. Hysterical.
Hysterical.
And it shows Bill Burr just like losing it and the crowd being like, yeah. And they show Margaret Cho losing it and everyone's like, she's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Unbook her from everything. She's a psycho bitch.
It's true.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. But I also think what makes comics is that you say the elephant in the room and you say, even if it's something bad, like this is awkward, you're going to say it out loud. That's how you find the humor. So for you, it was hard because you had to play a part.
Sure. And that's what it's like, I'm trying to find good material in terms of, because like I'm going to be in Connecticut again. I'm going to be performing for conservatives again.
Yeah.
I'm a long way off from just being able to like perform exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
And it's like finding jokes where I'm trying to be like, look, we disagree.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to change you. You're not going to change me.
Yeah.
We'll laugh for a second and we'll go about our way.
When I saw you at the casino thing, you did a good job of that because it was definitely a conservative crowd at the casino thing. Mm-hmm. And it was definitely like all of a sudden they loved you so much. And then you started telling that story about a guy sucking your dick. And it was so funny to watch them process that.
It's
and
about musical theater camp. My first interaction was like a guy went down on me when I was like 15, and like it's very funny because when all the gay stuff is theoretical, when it's like talking about being a straight guy at theater, they're laughing, and then the moment I get to the part. Even when this guy he was straight.
The moment the D goes in the mouth.
The moment they're like, "Whoa, what the fuck? Like, that's gay."
They're like, and they're also like, "We liked him. What is?
We liked him when he was on the fence."
And then you want him back.
And then when I don't get hard, they're like, "Oh,
okay, good. He didn't get hard. He didn't get hard. He's one of us too."
It can happen to anyone. That's so fun. Well, I was thinking about my experiences and. I do talk about like being a woman and talking about farting and like sex, and that's not necessarily like right or left. Like, okay, maybe losing your virginity early could be like a religious thing, but it's like we all fart, we all fuck, we all queef. So like, let's see how much I could push making them uncomfortable.
Of course.
Until maybe they're like, wait, I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
So that's where I kind of push the limit of just uncomfortableness, but I haven't touched the politics yet because I'm stupid.
It's hard. Well, yeah, it's hard. I mean, I'm also not. It has to be broad and it's very hard. It's just.
Yeah.
It's hard and everything changes so quickly. So you really have to like come up with some overarching point
that
stands the test
it's
of
like,
2 years
not
at
to bring it up,
most.
the Dave Chappelle special, but it's like, okay, what was the overarching purpose of it? And it's so complicated, that kind of shit, to even go in there, especially probably puts that together in like 6 months or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, am I trying to change the world or am I just trying to get a giggle right now, you know?
Yeah. I think you just got to go for the giggle first because if you lost that, then what the fuck are we watching?
That's what I say. As long as it's funny, you could get away with a lot.
Yeah.
But if it's not funny, the comics are not going to.
Well, I was talking some shit.
Yeah.
I was talking some shit on the Chappelle special, and people were like, you don't get it. And I'm like, you don't understand. You think you're a bigger Chappelle fan than me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I grew up, I went high school. Chappelle was my biggest. I loved him.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that like I watched it like with the eye of like wanting to like ruin Dave. There's nothing I wanted more than it to be the funniest thing I'd ever seen.
No.
Yeah.
It hurt my feelings.
Did you? Just me. I haven't talked about it on a pod yet, but he seemed like really angry at the end. Like, remember the very end? He was like almost like crying angry.
Well,
and I was like, oh, damn.
We talked about it just recently on a Patreon, but it's weird, the obsession with the one thing. I feel like I was glad when he was like, I'm done talking about it, because I was like, great.
There's no way he is.
This is from my experience with reality TV and trolls, where I've dealt with like a large amount of it.
Yeah.
He seems to me like a guy who's been stuck in the comments.
Wow. That's a great. I
when
love
you're
that.
stuck in the comments, everyone's had a YouTube video, and you think that it's all people think of you.
Yeah.
And in that YouTube video of people saying a certain thing, you actually think the whole world thinks that of you. You become obsessed with it. You think that's the only opinion. Like reality TV, Bravo is such a small niche thing, but at some point I'd walk outside being like, oh, these people think I'm a hoe because I did this. Because I was in my comments all morning, and he said Twitter's not a real place, but it's like, yeah, then really believe that, because he's not believing it.
Wow.
He's been in his comments. He thinks all these trans people are out to get him, and he was trying to do a fuck you to them when everyone's like, whoa, Dave, there's way more important shit that you could have, not that it's not important, but like to come for them? Was that the most important thing you could have done?
Yeah, that's such a good point.
I just think it's his perspective. I think he's been stuck in the comments. And
that's a really
good point.
And I don't know, maybe it's quarantine. We've all been on our computer a lot, but I've had to consciously be like, your whole perspective changes when you change the energy that you're consuming.
Yeah.
It's like if you change your Instagram feed, you will have a whole different perspective on life.
Yeah.
I told you someone who kind of like got me, who like on Twitter tried to like drag me for something.
Yeah.
And then I saw them in person at a comedy show and they're like 24. Yeah. And I'm looking at them kind of doing okay on stage. And I was like, I was scared. I was scared in the moment. I was like worried, and I'm seeing them there and I'm like, what were we doing?
Because it's so easy when it's virtual for you to make a storyline in your head. Because believe me, Dave Chappelle is not the biggest like hurdle that trans people are trying to overcover.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's such a good, I feel like that's one of the best the takes I've heard of him saying that Twitter's not real, but being like, then believe that because you're right. Like how many trans people is he running into in Ohio?
On his private estate in the
field. He goes, yeah, Twitter isn't real, but then he goes on to say all the things that people are saying about him. So I'm like, so you are reading it and you're taking it for reality. Yeah. So yeah, that's my 2 cents about it.
Do you feel did you right now on TikTok? I had this pedophile joke. And it's a good joke. Like it did well, but the comments are wild.
Yeah.
And there's a way where I'm like trying to look at them like exposure therapy. I'm like, yeah, look at this. People they're calling you a pedophile, even though the joke is very sound. It's okay. Look outside. You're fine. Are you out of the comments? Do you feel you learned, or do you still get wrapped?
This is the problem. You will come a time, especially as you get more popular, where the trolls will drag you down. You have to be up for them to drag you down. So when you're just doing normal comedy shit that people aren't seeing, you might get a couple, this isn't funny. But when there's a movement against you, which will happen eventually in your career, where it's a different kind of feeling where it's going viral, where people are getting heated to take you down in a type of way, that's when you want to look so bad to be like, how bad is it? Is it still going? Did Us Weekly pick it up? Did these people pick it up? Because you feel you've lost control. And that's when you're like, fuck, I have to look at it. But if you posted something and it's not getting any traction, but there's a bunch of shitty comments, there's no need to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also when it's getting bad, don't look at it and call your people and say, can you guys manage this? Because I need to go to therapy right now.
That's good.
That's my 2 cents on just when shit goes bad in entertainment.
What was there one thing that was like the worst for you? Was there one?
With reality TV, sometimes the reality TV crowd is different than a comedy crowd.
Yeah.
I did have an instance where I was like in a bad light on my reality show, and there were a couple people who had been trying to cancel me for like 6 months, just throwing shit at the wall.
Yeah.
And then when you're having like kind of a bad character moment, it's easy to be like putting people in black or white, like she's amazing, I love her, or like, oh, she's horrible.
Yeah.
Because then when I was having bad stuff happen to me in a storyline on reality TV, you could have been like, Hannah's murdered children, and people have been like, of course she did.
Yeah.
And anyone will believe anything in the worst sense of it. And even if I did do something kind of bad, it looks so much worse in the context of like when you're looking bad on a TV show.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel, especially since you did it for how many years? 5?
3.
3.
Just 3. I started season 3.
We were talking here just about the editing. I did one competition show for CISO, and I was like a new comic.
Yeah.
And I was talking really fast, and I had like one punchline every 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And they then edited it. They even took out the few inhalations I took, so it was even faster and even more crazed. And then they cut to the judge like,
yep.
And I thought like, whoo, man. It was such a good reminder
you lose the
of
nuances.
Like these editors can. I would love, it would be cool if they took a reality show, had 2 different editors like make you love or hate 2 different people with the same footage.
Interesting.
Oh my
because
gosh,
I feel like they
it's so
could.
easy. It's so easy.
Just music. You were talking about like
Well,
just music.
I was saying like that what stressed me out so much about if I was on a reality show is that you find out how production or producers or whoever feels about someone, because the music underneath sometimes they're like bum 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 bum, like this is an
music
idiot.
affects
This is an
everything.
idiot.
Yes, a normal conversation with like means like you're fucking up. Where if it was like boom, dun, dun. You're like, oh, he's sexy.
Oh.
It's crazy, but and you think I'm not that stupid. I can decipher who's a good person. You actually can't. And the most fucked up thing about my experience, even though I'm very grateful for it, was that my first year, it was a good year. It was solid. My second year, incredible. I was like, I was the funniest, truth-telling, strong, vulnerable version of myself. So you gain trust.
Yeah.
So you're like, I going in, I was like, America's not going to hate me. Like, I'm not too, I don't start fights too much. I'm not going to be that much drama.
Yeah.
Season 3, that's when they get you because you're in deep relationships with people. You have deep trust in the network. And then if enough people want to turn on you, it is very easy. And you're not, I'm like, yeah, America knows me. I could stand up against this guy. I could call this person out. And if you have enough people in confessionals talking shit about you, it's so easy to fill in the gaps. Like someone goes, Hannah's not hanging out with the rest of the group. Cut to them showing me get up to go to the bathroom. Done.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah. I do feel like
Hannah's always shitting.
I do feel like
you going to the bathroom different angles.
I do feel like sometimes.
No, literally.
Yeah. And sometimes.
I'm like, I have IBS. Fuck you guys. Out of the stress from the show.
Yeah. I mean, I do feel like sometimes it's more obvious than others too. And I feel like I was watching something recently where I was like, this seems.
Russell's a big reality TV.
I'm a big reality guy.
Huge. He's seen all of your shows.
I've seen the show.
Wow.
And so my wife and I
wasn't
watched
anticipating this.
everything.
Yeah.
But what's also interesting about reality, and I was telling you this too, is it doesn't stick in your mind like other things sometimes where you're like, I watched this, you're not like so invested. It's easy to like, it's
Yes.
like, you have it and then you forget,
It's very 15 minutes of famey. Bravo actually edits so you can start an episode at any time and pretty much get the feel for what's going on.
Yeah.
They do a ton of flashbacks. They keep it simple. And as I was a comedy video producer before I started, so I like was very like into it all and I knew about it.
Yeah.
But a reality TV person once told me, they were like, whoever, when you're watching, you think you hate, I guarantee they're not as bad as they really are. And whoever you think you love, they're not as great as you think they are.
Right.
And with reality TV, sometimes if they don't have great storylines, that's when you see a big like downfall of someone, because that's like the go-to. If there's not good storylines, let's just rip someone apart, because hate always works.
There's a thing of like, this person is either not playing in the way that we want them to, so we're gonna fuck with them.
Yeah.
And I feel like I was recently, I don't know if you watched Below Deck, I felt like that has happened.
I think you're the only one who watches Below Deck.
Below Deck is
It's a
one
good
of the
show.
top ones, but it's very like water in the background of a yacht. Like it's easy to just have on in the
Yes.
background.
But I like it. I like it when it's not that dramatic. I like when they're just trying to do their job.
Yes.
Like it's
You're
an
like, get the
interesting.
shrimp out. He needs
they're
the shrimp.
boating and like I just like that. I don't like the romance stuff that much. I like it when they're just trying to do their job. But there's been times with both chief stewardesses where I felt like Bravo, especially with Below Deck Mediterranean, I felt like
Hannah
Bravo
Berner.
was fucking with her to be like, because she wasn't playing along, and they kept throwing shit at her last season, and it felt gross. Where I was like, this person, it was truly just trying to do her job.
But it's funny
and she
because
wasn't
that
giving
goes
them-
two ways.
Yeah.
When Bravo's pissed at someone, either she got away with it, where everyone was like, this is too much. I think everyone's ganging up on her, and we actually like Hannah.
Yeah.
But then something could happen with Summer House, where it's like, everyone's ganging up on me, but they've made it look like I deserve it.
For sure.
So, but then also with the villain, I do think sometimes people will play up to like kind of a villainy thing. They just don't know the extent of how bad it's going to be. But then I also think there's the type of villain who's just someone who's the only one who's speaking the truth, and everyone else is like, no, 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 no. And then that person is feeling emotion and they're struggling because you're getting gaslighted in every direction. And then you watch the show and you're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. I also had a question too about the.
But I have seasons that I've watched of shows and been on that I've been like, that's pretty real.
Yeah.
It really depends on the chemistry of the cast, how much storylines they have going on. Because I've dealt with both sides of it.
Yeah. Well, as a casual viewer, I felt like the only thing I remembered from your last season was that it felt like you were in a relationship. Maybe you were like, it's one of those things where I feel like it's a weird.
Was this to your now fiance?
It was COVID. So I felt like, wasn't the 2 years before you guys were just doing it on the weekends, and then it was like a full-time thing, which is also like a weird mind thing.
So
all of a
we
sudden
went
you're
from
trapped.
this was the
Russell
pitch.
said he didn't remember anything about the show, and now he's broken down every
I was
episode.
revisiting
He's like,
recently
yeah.
in
Season
preparation
2, episode
because I'm a
5.
professional.
said-
I'm a professional. I was revisiting before we came here.
Oh my God. Well, this is the pitch. I was like working at this company, Betches. I was writing like memes, tweets, doing funny videos, interviews. Like it was my dream job. I call it Betches Boot Camp. It was when I first started to like learn about joke writing in a way and performing. And someone was like, do you want to do Summer House? And I'm like, what is it? And they're like, we show your job during the week and then you go out and party on the weekends in the Hamptons. And I was like, I just started a podcast and I'm like, you know what? This could be good. It's better than whatever. We're
Right.
going to try.
Right.
Everything's going great. I had 2 great seasons, and then COVID hits. And we're basically stuck in a house for 7 weeks together. And I had just got a talk show on Bravo. Like, it was a big gig. And was probably my downfall.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say that, but looking back, you're like, fuck.
Why was that the downfall?
Fuck.
Well, because there was probably
There's a lot of egos on the cast.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it
Oh, I
really,
see.
it's way more, it's Squid Game. If you don't have a certain amount of people that'll have your back when you're not in the room, you're fucked.
Russell hasn't watched Squid Game, but today
You
I
just
told him I was just
described
like, a
it
bunch
to
of
me.
people got shot.
Yeah.
And that's all I really said. So when you said that, Russell's like, well, not quite like.
I know exactly. I did have a question about reunions because that is so stressful to me. Because I'm like, first of all, like, I mean, you know, we've all gotten in tiffs with friends. You know, Gianmarco,
Many tiffs.
you've gotten, you know,
Gianmarco, you're fighting
I've
with
hurt
everyone.
your feelings before. You know, I've been frustrated, but you
But
never said
you're
anything
someone
to you.
who's not confrontational, but like you're talking head. I'd be like, Jesus
It would
Christ.
be a nightmare. I'd be like, so yeah, I would be horrible.
Russell,
That's funny
if they-
too, because I'm not confrontational either.
But that's what
which sounds crazy.
That's,
But I cried, I yelled, I did all of it.
That's what's crazy about the reunion is that you're like, okay, so you're a funny person, so you would be in your talking heads and saying what you feel and blah blah blah. And if you're not confrontational in real life, it sometimes looks worse. So, but the idea of then you're in a room, and I don't know how long those reunions are filmed because I feel like people watch and they're like
6 to 11
it's an
hours.
hour.
6 to 11 hours.
That is such an uncomfortable.
What's also hard is our season we filmed. And we were all good at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Like the real filming. It's done. We're good. But then we don't see each other for a while because of COVID.
And you're watching.
So then it airs 6 months later. And then as it airs, you start seeing shit. And it's not like, oh, these people said this behind my back. That's one part of it, but it's also how it's being told. So I started going on I was going on podcasts. I always do like 5 podcasts a week. That's just what I do. And people would bring stuff up and I'd be like, we legally can't say certain things, but I was fighting for my life. Like I was out there being like, look, I'm responding to things. Like that was a response to something. And the cast was not happy that I was like in the public, not just sitting like a dead dog with what was going on.
Yeah.
So then we show up to the reunion and their only argument is like, you're on podcast saying shit. And I go,
Yes.
what did I say? But they're not saying it because that would mean they'd have to say what really happened.
Yeah.
So then I'm sitting there just like, okay, you guys are mad I was on podcast. You guys are on podcasts. You guys are saying shit in your confessionals. And it just became a fight of like, we're mad that you were on podcasts. Not a specific thing that I said.
Yeah.
And then when enough people are just mad at you, you're just like, cool.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
have any friend? I feel
Also,
like
this is a reality TV show. Like, obviously, I'm talking about the drama.
yeah.
Andy Cohen literally was like, wait.
yeah.
Andy Cohen goes, you all are asked shady stuff about everyone because that's how we fucking make money.
Yeah.
Well, that's my
Yeah.
thing.
One girl was mad because on a podcast, I said she was scary. And everyone's scared of her. It was a joke. Like, it was a funny off-color
Yeah.
comment.
Yeah.
I'm not, like, coming for their, like, family,
yeah.
you
But
know?
that's the thing. Isn't like ultimately deep like how much is real and how much is you kind of guys going like this is gonna be a good
This
scene.
is the problem.
Let's
Okay.
yell. Let's call each other bitches.
No, this is the thing. You think that you'd be like, yeah, let's just play the game. I could say to you, like, hey, let's get into a fight. Like, I'm going to come for you. And then while we're doing it, I say something that's a little too far. And then you go, this is on national TV. And then you think, oh no, like, whose side are they going to take? And then, or I might be like, hey, I have to say this thing about you, but producers are making me do it. And in your head, you go, are they? Or are you just being a cunt? So, like, you have this meta reality where you don't know if it's produced or not produced because they're also, like, certain people are trying to fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if after a fight I go, oh, sorry, producer just made me do that. And I walk away and you go, did they?
And then their producer's like, I didn't do it. Like,
and the producer will be like, I never said that.
I never said that.
And then you go up to them and you'll be like, why'd you say that?
Yeah.
And they go, you have no storyline. I'm giving you a storyline. And then, like, it's just, it
Oh,
gets
it's
really
like
messy.
it is a fucked up social
Don't the
experiment.
villains get
It's a
like, look,
social
I
experiment.
remember Omarosa was the villain of The Apprentice, and like she was the asshole. People were like, ugh. And she did the best. I don't remember.
Well,
like the villains can
That's
spin
also
it.
the thing. With my last season, I had a lot of drama. I thought I was being a feminist icon during it. Turns out it aired and people were like, she's crazy. So
I just love you in the summer house. Like, I'm doing what Ruth Bader Ginsburg did.
no, literally, I was
In
with
my
Bader
own way.
Ginsburg, and I realized now maybe I wasn't the right fit for the demo, and I wasn't the right fit. No, like actually,
Well,
like
it
I
is-
went in, I tried to be like, I heard that when you go on reality TV, you kind of have to, it's like a group scenario. You have to fit, either you're like the hot one, you're the drunk mess, you're the truth teller, you're the leader, you're the villain, you're the likable. You have to fit in that. And I came in, I was all over it. Like, I'm like, women could be strong, but women also could have depression, and women also could be funny, and they could also be athletic, but also be like farting.
Wait, you're
And they
saying
were
the other
like,
people
"We
didn't
don't."
like you? While you're saying
I think-
women
I
can't
think-
do this.
Well, I think from an outsider, it seemed like everything was great, and then something happened in the third thing. But I really watched
No,
it.
everything was like the first two
I
seasons.
really just
was
watched
great.
it, being like, it seemed like you were. Oh, here's the thing. It feels like a healthy thing for anyone in reality TV is an expiration of like, I did it, I had fun. And now it's time for me to transition out of this, because some people stay too long and it becomes seems like it's like a very unhealthy
You
thing for them
choose
to
it
keep.
over your real life. You start making this. I got engaged off the show.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't good for me. That wasn't. I wanted to just live my life.
Yeah.
And also, if I want to actually be a respected stand-up comic, you can't be in reality TV for too long. However, the way it ended for me, didn't expect it, didn't love that. And they're all about redemption. They're always like, don't worry, even if you burn, we'll build you back up. So you also have that trust that, like, it's a story. It goes, you'll have struggles, we'll show you messing up, but then it's about how you solve your problems. And for me, it didn't really end like that.
Yeah.
And my first two seasons were so great that it's not like
Now, you ever talk to the producers and go like, hey guys, what the fuck? You said, like, do you ever have those conversations with the people?
I can't get into that.
Sure.
But
yeah.
let's just say some of
Totally.
them
I mean,
were my
totally.
some of them were my best friends. Like, this is 3 years of a
Yeah.
intense job.
Yeah.
Like 3 years of coworkers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but also this last season, being like the drama person, I brought a lot to the show. Like, other people didn't have to do as much because I was speaking up for myself and shit. So I thought that would go farther than it did. I have that athlete mentality. Like, I was a tennis player growing up, so I'm very coachable. I have put a lot of pressure on myself to do well, and I went in and I'm like, I'm going to do the best job that I can. And that was hard for me to fathom once I left the show, being like, wait, I did everything that my little girl brain knows brings success, and instead it worked against me. But ultimately, sometimes you could put something into a recipe and it's always going to taste bad.
Yeah.
So my thing was, I'm still actually overcoming the like trauma of reality TV, but stand-up comedy is saving my life right now, because I'll walk into the stand and they'll laugh about it. And I'll see how it's such like a small niche thing. Or I'll walk into the stand and someone will see me from the show and be like, wow, this is what you're meant to do. This is who you are.
Yeah.
Even people on the cast have seen stand-up with me and been like, oh, like you're not actually but anyone could do reality TV.
Yeah, I think stand-up can be like, I'm sure the first couple minutes, and you talked about it briefly, having this reality TV fan base, the first couple minutes can be like, this is the person. The same way that if a famous person comes in a stand-up club, they get a big round of applause.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then after 2 minutes or 3 minutes, it's just if the jokes are working
Jerry
or they're
Seinfeld
not.
talks about that. Like,
For-
they'll give you the first couple.
Yeah.
But not even give you the first couple. I find sometimes when I go on stage, people are observing like TV.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people also have no expectations. Like, they have no idea because they never showed my stand-up on the show. They didn't know that I've been doing it for a while. So they come to the show because like, we're going to see Hannah. They don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
So some people are like, oh, it's easier because it's your fans. And I'm like, these fans are on a
it's a different medium.
Also, they might come in with their perspective, like Hannah's, like she cries a lot. Like, yeah, on a reality show when I was stuck in a house for 5 weeks in
funny.
In a fetal position.
Cry.
Also, they couldn't go out to restaurants, and it was a lot.
And
like
also,
you're trapped in that house.
The whole fighting started because I said early on, they were like, okay, we have to be clean. And I go, I'll take out the trash. And I knew that's just setting up for, like, let's see what that story does. I was trying to be a fucking feminist, being like, I'll take out the trash. But as everyone knows...
I tell Tova all the time, I say, honey, take out the trash, be a feminist.
No, the feminist leaves her body when the trash actually needs to be taken out. Because it's also quite heavy. We had 10 people drinking rosé. And so I'd go and
Those
it'd be
cans,
so heavy.
those things.
Bottles. So, and it was an upside down house. So the kitchen was on top. So you had to take it down 3 flights of stairs. And then outside the mansion, there were more stairs. And it would be dark out. Long story short, your girl did not take out the trash as much as I should have, but also it was a volunteer job. I wasn't on I wasn't getting paid. So it started off with a guy being like, you fucking lazy piece of shit, you haven't done the trash. And that's how the season started.
And that was the hero of the show. Yes, this guy is a good man.
Yeah.
No, I think it's great. I think I'm happy for you because I do feel like this is a good thing. It just is like one of those things where in people, and also I think people watch and they forget that it's real people, and I think people sometimes in the thing can forget that they're real.
Also, people forget, like, the previous season, it's so funny. I was hooking up with this model who, like, definitely was bad news, but I was very empowered. Like, I just want to fuck a model. Like, let me do my thing. And everyone's like, yeah, let Hannah do her fucking thing. And people were loving it. And then the next season, we find out he's not that great of a guy. And everyone starts calling me crazy that I'm in love with him because I got upset when he, like, said some fucked up stuff and did some stuff that basically, when you're watching a show, we're always talking about how we're going to look. So I'm basically like, you're playing me. Like, you're going to make me look bad. And as someone who I've been close to for over a year, this hurts. But anyway, I end up meeting the love of my life on the show. But somehow America hates that. They don't like that story.
Yeah, I don't know if they don't like it, but I do feel like it was never... It definitely was. It didn't feel like, I don't know, Bravo. They didn't want people to like it. They wanted, again, it's the silly music thing. They wanted it to be like a little like oh, she's
the
dating
love of
this.
my life that I engaged to, and they were like, they're gross. They had sex in a bathroom when we didn't actually have sex in a bathroom. Yeah. So it was a journey, and I do have to say, I don't know how spiritual you guys are. But
it's a pretty nihilistic podcast, I would say.
Cool.
Go for it. But it's fine.
So,
we've had all sorts of debates.
Have you guys ever had an ego death?
Is this like an ayahuasca type thing?
Almost, yeah. An ego death.
No, my ego is thriving. It is raging and pulsating.
Jesus.
It is erect right now. I like to call it like an ego death. Like, reality TV is very based on just like fame and money. Like, you get treated like the Beatles when you walk outside sometimes, when it's like you really didn't do much. And I mean, you did put yourself out there for a lot of ridicule, but it's basically like an ego death I'm going through, where something that I was just like using purely for ego has been taken away as like kind of a challenge.
Sure.
To then like step up more and be like, okay, we're making, like, pull off the fancy skin. What's actually there? So I'm going through some pain, and I'm trying to trust that, like, this is learning, and like have faith that this is the path you're supposed to be. Like, you know, when people are like, it wasn't meant for you. I'm like, how do you know that? But like, I know deep down it wasn't meant for me, but it's my ego hurt.
Yeah.
We've dealt with two. We've talked, I think, briefly about it. We did a show when we first met. It was an interactive, like, off-Broadway play, and I was replaced by Vinny from the Jersey Shore. It was like a super Italian character, and like, I'm sure, like, I just feel like reality stars probably, the stories, some go great. Right now, my spin class is taught by someone who's a Long Island Princess or something, some reality show. She's now a great spin teacher. She seems good. Vinny. Seems some of those Jersey Shore people had a rough go of it. I know, Mike, the situation's in jail or not.
They came back too.
But
so
can you tell
they also
the one
love
Vinny
a redemption
thing?
Story.
Can you tell the one Vinny story?
Oh, and this is no shade to Vinny, but and I'm not going to get specific.
V-Dog. We reached out to see if he'd be on the
I'm not
pod.
going to be specific about the story, but so there was a time in the show where for the like 10 minutes at the beginning of the show, he and I would just be like backstage talking before.
Talking about bitches.
And he told me something the week before. He told me about this person that he had hooked up with. And
a porn star.
Well, I wasn't gonna.
You thought that was specific? I thought no names. That's what I thought.
I'm not gonna name names. I'm not gonna name names.
There's a lot of porn stars. That's vague.
I mean, but I don't know.
Is there a video we should watch?
No, he could be married. I don't know his story. But anyways, yeah, this is he was single at the time.
Okay, good.
So he told me the story, and so then and it was just like a quick like offhand thing, and I was like, oh. So the next week we're at the show again, and I asked him if he had been talking to said porn star again. And he goes, is that going around on the blogs? And I was like, oh.
On the blogs?
No, you told me. I was like that thing of like being like, no, you told me. Like he thought that it was like a rumor going around the cast, and like people had seen it on page 6 or whatever. And I was like, it was just this thing of like, oh man, that's where his head is at. Like, and I was like, no, you actually just told me, and I haven't told anyone. I was until now on my podcast.
You're like, it will be on the blogs now. Or TikTok is definitely gonna pick it up. It's this like fear, because with the highs you have the lows. People say there's like light and dark to everything. So like I got to the point when shit was so heated with my stuff, like people were passionate about being like, Hannah's the worst this season. I woke up and I'm like, please no one have my name in anything. And like, whenever as an entertainer do you want that?
Yeah.
Literally, I got to the point where I was like, if another thing is written about me, I can't handle it. Because you're like, they're in a narrative. So you start getting scared that like if something goes around, it's the beginning of like 5 days of shit being talked about. And then if reality TV, that means people use stuff against you. The network is like, oh, people care about that? Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So you have no personal life. And I'm not a private person.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a private person. No, I will talk about anything. And I was at the point where like, oh, you have to protect things though.
Yeah.
Like you have... When I'm in a relationship and I got engaged and I put it on Instagram, the amount of stupid shit people say that like everyone would say, but normally you wouldn't see it on your page. Like say it to your friend, like getting coffee in the morning, like, oh, they got engaged fast or something. People are like, I'll give this 3 months. Or like, he's fucking gross. He's old. She's chasing him for clout. Like just as many possible insecure things you could have.
Yeah.
And I hate these pods where I end up just being like, people are mean online. Because it's a specific, let's just say that when I see people hating on people now online, I have a whole different perspective. I used to be like, ooh, this is tea. Yeah, this person fucking, yeah. But it's like, no. They're just your flavor of the week. Yeah. Because people just, negativity is way more exciting than positivity. So like any story you hear, like, that person's not a terrible person.
And I also feel like they also sometimes, like, I feel like in your position you'd be like, I'm all right, I'm out of it. Like they moved on to other things, blah blah blah. But then sometimes it's a weird thing. Like they find ways to like be like just random ways to connect to bring it back.
Oh yeah,
in
well,
weird ways.
Like on this friend group basically like pushed me out because. Which was weird because I had like brought so much to the show. I didn't have any actual beef with them. I didn't do anything actual to them. Like they know what actually happened. And I got like uninvited to this wedding that happened like months later.
Uninvited?
He uninvited me the first fight about the trash. So I knew that shit wasn't going well. The wedding happens. My DMs are just flooded.
That's
like,
what I was.
Are you at the wedding? Why aren't you at the wedding? Oh my God. And then memes like Hannah not invited to the wedding. And I'm just like, why are you there? Like you're just a prop for people.
Yeah.
You're a prop.
Yeah.
And they don't. And you just have to decide. But like, there's something about comedy that is just so different from all of that, where it's like, if people see my show and it's not for them, I'm actually okay with that. It's when people see me put in a certain light and a certain narrative that other people want, and then you don't like me from that. That's what I've been coping with.
For sure.
Let's take commercial break here, and we're back. I did want to check before we get to our segments, because I did read about the tennis stuff, and neither of us were huge athletes in our youth.
I was.
Yeah, you were football. Yeah. But how many years?
I mean, I was an all-star. I played in
What number in the nation were you?
I was an all-star. I was an Ernie Davis all-star
what state?
Participant. New York, upstate New York.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
What
I was
number
just in Buffalo.
in the nation were you?
They didn't
She was top 250.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
Oh no, that was
You were just at Buffalo?
That was internationally, baby.
Oh yeah, forgive me.
Buffalo was so fun.
I have a whole bit about how shitty Buffalo is.
I realized they have pizza logs there,
What's a pizza log?
Exactly. It's just like a thing they have in Buffalo where they put, as an Italian, they're rolling over in their graves, but it's like mozzarella, pepperoni, and then an egg roll.
Oh.
Egg roll, like a traditional egg roll, like fried?
Well, just fried on the outside egg roll, then the inside is like Italian. And I'm like, do you realize this isn't like a thing? Like, this is just your guys' thing. And then it went right through me when I had it in the green room. But
were you at the Funny Bone?
Helium. And Buffalo, they love the Bills more than anything because it's like a small town has their own professional team.
Yeah.
So whenever they'd turn on me, I'd be like, go Bills. And they'd be like, what's your experience with Buffalo?
Oh, I just shat on it. Well, I lied about taking a plane there because people just know Buffalo. Buffalo like is a place.
It's
Maddie
a funny
Smith
name.
had gone
It's
there.
a funny name.
Yeah.
It's a funny name. I joke about the smaller a plane is, that's how you can tell how shitty a city's going to be.
Yeah.
And then I just shit about how small the plane is. But I get a lot of people being like, Buffalo, yeah, I'm from Buffalo, it sucks. Or I'm from Buffalo and it's good.
Well,
but I took the train there and it was like an 8-hour train. It's amazing how big New York is. I always forget.
Oh,
it's like
so
an 8-hour
far.
train. And you get to the station. There is a Buffalo statue outside of it.
I was very confused because to get there, I had to take a plane to Detroit and then fly over, and then got a text that I was in Canada, and I'm like, where the fuck am I going? It was a journey. They didn't have a connecting flight.
You got a text that you were in
like,
Canada?
you know, it's like, you're now in Canada. Use this data plan. Like, I got a little alert.
Oh my God.
And I had no idea where I was. I landed, took a nap. You get on stage. You have no clue where you are. But I did find out they don't go to Niagara Falls. It's like their Times Square. And then Buffalo wings are just wings.
Really?
Yeah.
They're just wings there. You don't say buffalo wings.
I went to
like French fries, but not really.
A Buffalo. Well, I was in Buffalo and I went to a wing convention, like at Bill's Stadium.
You went hard into
Yeah.
it.
Well, I had a friend who lived there and I was visiting, and we went to like this wings convention at the Bills Stadium, and it was 95 degrees in the summertime, and they had women
talk about meat sweats.
They had women wrestling in blue cheese at this event.
At least it wasn't hot sauce.
It was. I just remember it was seemed like it was gonna be a fun thing, and then it was like you had a few wings, and it was awful.
You're like, you thought it was gonna be hot.
When you say it, I'm like, I'd do it. I'd go to it.
I think if it was 75 degrees, 80 degrees, but it was so hot, and it was
the blue cheese is boiling as they wrestle. And they're like, was it
curdling.
sexy?
Yeah.
Was it a sex like?
No,
like,
it wasn't
did you see
supposed
it,
to be
were you
sexy.
like,
Were they wearing bikinis?
No.
Wasn't
I think
supposed
they
to
were
be
like.
sexy.
I think they were wearing like t-shirts and like it was not like it was nothing that was supposed to be sexy. It was
You're
just
like, people got their ass kicked.
You know,
Yeah.
it could have been like men doing it too before. But I just remember there was like it was two women when I saw it, and I just remember that it was. I remember having a really bad shit in Buffalo Bills Stadium, and there was no AC.
It happened that fast?
There was no
How long
AC.
were you there? It went through?
I mean, you pay to get in. You go for
That's
a couple hours.
because
You know?
some shits will make your day.
No, it was one of those too many wings in 95-degree heat, and
Yeah.
you're in a bathroom that is even hotter because there's no windows, and
it must have been the worst bathroom in the whole world.
It
My
was
God.
vile.
Also, I
Vile.
didn't try the wings when I got there, and people were all upset. And I'm like, I don't know. It's a chicken wing. Like, how different could it taste?
How
than,
wild could it be?
Yeah, like, yeah.
Wild? That's what you want? Because Buffalo Wild.
Oh, yeah.
How wild?
But we digress about Buffalo.
Anyways, Buffalo.
So just to talk about the downside of being, I had a friend he was a soccer player, and he was like very good at soccer. He was top. I guess you guys, if you have these numbers to say, you say them. He was top 150 in the nation at some point.
Yeah.
And then he went to Stanford for it. And like, I don't know how these. I don't get the whole COD system because he did for like a year and a half. And
Also,
then
it's hard with
fucking quit.
teams too, where like, oh, how are you 150? Like tennis, it's because I beat people that I'll get a ranking. Where I guess it's like scouts or stats, because you could be on like a really good team, so it's easier because your defense is better that you like get more goals. Fuck, I don't know. Anyway, yeah.
So what age did you start playing?
I started playing at like 4 years old. By 8 years old, my brother said he didn't like it that much and gave me his lessons, and I got a real coach at 8 years old.
Yeah.
I also got told that I'm too old to go professional when I was like 7, and apparently I cried the whole day, which is like interesting that a kid was so passionate about something at such a young age.
Yeah. I wish I had that. I quit every sport I ever played. I quit the swimming team because the pool was too cold.
Oh my God,
That's
Gianmarco.
And my dad said, "You're absolutely right, son. Way too cold."
Good for your dad. Good for your dad.
No, I I think it was the
people
worst
say
thing.
that to me. They go, "I wish my dad pushed me like your dad."
I am that. I am that.
Like, it's like, what would you rather? Your dad be like, "It's okay," or your dad care way too much that he's living vicariously through you?
That one.
There's got to be a balance. There's got to be somewhere.
And it's funny that you said the downside that like your friend quit swimming. I'd love the stats of how many athletes quit in college because I did all my years, but it's tough. But
I never understood why he quit. Like, I understand soccer,
it's
professional
emotional,
doesn't make the most
physical
money.
torture,
But you get to be the best at something, man.
But in your head, you're playing against the best also, so you could be the worst of the best in your head.
Do you think if you had your mind now and you could go back,
Yes.
do you have the body that you could be like one of the best?
Okay, great question. So by the time I was 14, I was ranked top 15 in the nation. And I moved to Florida to like go pro.
Top 15 of 14-year-olds?
Of 14 and unders.
Okay.
Of all the 14-year-old girls running around. So then I went and then I started playing internationally there. But shit is tough because I watch a lot of documentaries, a lot of sports documentaries too. You basically have to be so fucking crazy. It's like marathon runners, how they're like, they're amazing. And it's like, they're not okay. What are they running from? Like, it's too extreme. And I know we're crazy with comedy. We found our next obsession. They say comedians are either addicts or athletes, which is quite interesting. I don't know how you feel about that.
I mean, I'd feel embarrassed to call myself an athlete.
But you have an addictive
you're also an
personality.
actor.
You can get addicted about.
I would call it more obsessive than addictive.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's the word I would use.
So you have to have
My
an
brain.
unhealthy obsession to be like really good at things.
It's definitely unhealthy.
Yeah.
I will say unhealthy.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And it's funny because society, like whenever you see like someone who's like so good at chess, it's like, yeah, they have like no family life, no friend life, other things suffered, but they got that like greatness. And I was all in with tennis. I was playing 6-7 days a week, 6 hours a day, like all that shit. I had a low mental breakdown at 16, then decided to...
What do you mean? What does that mean?
I basically was just like crying all the time. I missed my family. My coach was like changing like my grip on my forehand. I wasn't feeling confident. I got some yips.
Oh, so when you moved to Florida, your family was still...
I was alone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What's a yip?
For 2
A
years.
yip is like a second baseman forgets how to throw to first base and they're a professional player. Like I've suffered from...
Does it stand for something or it's called the yips?
I don't know if it's...
I've
the
heard
yips
of it,
is
yeah.
like Tiger Woods had the yips. Simone Biles kind of got the yips.
Yeah.
It's a thing that happens to athletes. And I think it's correlated with anxiety for sure. Where like you think of the worst possible thing. Like I'm like, what if I can't hit a second serve? And then it happens. Like you psychologically can't hit a second serve.
Yeah.
So I was like battling a lot of my own demons, but it's also at like such a high level that like people are still like, yeah, she's winning a lot. But in my head, I was just battling myself all the time. So long story short, I got a full scholarship to University of Wisconsin, and you're kind of just playing to not lose your scholarship. And you just get threatened all the time. Like if you don't get to practice, like that's a strike and you could lose your scholarship. So in your head, you're like, that's $300,000 my dad and mom would have to
Is it
pay.
more about like being on time or is it also like if you lose too many games?
That too.
Is that allowed?
If you're losing a lot, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? You're being paid
but it's
to be
like,
here.
but they made the gamble.
Exactly.
They made the gamble.
But also in your head, you're like, I want to make all Big Ten and I want to do this. But tennis is hard because it's like stand up. You're only as good as your last set. Like it literally feels like that. And it is also quite similar to stand up where you're traveling alone. Yeah. And you have the variable of like the crowd or the person you're playing against. Like if they have a great serve, that really complicates things for me.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like I've found my tennis, but in something that I feel is mine, not like for other people.
You don't lose as much. I mean, you can have a mediocre set. You could.
You nailed it though. Like tennis, even like when you're playing team sports, you're like, yeah, fucking Steve fucked that game up.
Yeah.
Or you could convince yourself, like, it's not me. I did what I had to do. Where tennis, you can't blame anyone. You can't call timeout. You're just like, I'm a fucking loser. And the score is up and it's like, she's better than you. You suck. Where stand up, I'm like, oh, that was a learning experience. Or I'm like, the crowd just was stupid.
Yeah.
So I've just enjoyed this like new career of mine. Because after tennis, I lost my identity too. Like I was a tennis girl since I was 8. Till 21.
Yeah.
Did it take you a long time to like figure out your relationship with tennis now? Like, was there a time where you're like, I'm not playing tennis at all?
Oh yeah.
Like you have to like really distance yourself.
I had
and
a full
then find
gym
your
strike.
way.
I think gym strike is a thing a lot of athletes do. Like they finish and then you're like, why am I going to the gym? I'm a fucking loser now. I'm a has-been. What am I working towards? Like, I used to do this to be a champion. Now what am I fucking doing? Like, I used
Carry
to go
the
to the gym.
groceries from the car.
Yeah.
To
See, the
take out
gym
the
in
cans
10
down
minutes, I'd be
3
like,
flights of stairs.
Yeah, I
This
don't
is
want to do
bullshit.
this. I'm such a loser. And everything just takes time.
Are you over the pain entirely, or do you ever? I went to college for musical theater, and there's still times when I see
Sorry.
like
I'm not laughing at your pain. Sorry, I just forget that you like sometimes like yearn to be a leading man in
It's
musical
true.
theater. Yeah,
but I'll see like people singing, and I'll be home and I'll like nah, and I'm like, ooh, maybe I still have it, or like, but it's gone.
No,
like
literally,
like
whenever I play tennis, I'm like, am I going back on tour?
yes.
Because obviously there was something that made me really good, and I'm now playing so free where like I have none of those
And you're
like
playing
setbacks.
someone who's like this is their
Yeah,
first time
I'll
playing.
hit
You're
a
like, I
shot,
murdered that guy.
I'll hit it one shot and be like, I need to get back on tour. But I mean, I
Hilarious.
cried a lot because I was thinking about, okay, you put your whole life into tennis,
Mm-hmm.
and then afterwards I was burnt out. I decided I didn't want to go pro because like I couldn't necessarily afford it. Tennis is a sport where you have to pay for all your travel, pay for if you only get paid when you win. Imagine if the Knicks only got paid if they won. So I was like, I'm not going to do it. I'm quitting. And then you're basically like, why did I put my entire life towards this?
Yeah.
It was a lot of the whys. Like, I tried my hardest. I deserved it. I did everything I needed to do. Why is it happening to other people and not for me? Why am I not on tour? Why couldn't I get my head together?
Could you have had
I could have been top 500 in the world, but that's not sustainable. You're not making money unless you're
Yeah.
top 100. And I didn't have the confidence in myself, and I didn't overcome a bunch of like performance anxiety battles that like, because I'm talking about like little things. Because tennis, if you saw me hit and another girl top 300 hit, you couldn't really tell the difference. It's like the little mental things of like when it's deuce, I'll double fault.
I'd go further with my eye. I think I could see you and someone's first swing, and I couldn't tell that. I have no eye for who's doing good tennis and who's doing bad tennis.
But it's interesting because like now that I'm away from it, and I even think about you, like you could always put together a one-man show that involves singing.
Of course, and I have
God,
inserted
don't,
it into. Well, that's the beauty.
It's like funny you asked, you want to hear a clip because I've been working on it. And he presses the button.
It's like right there, right there.
Well, that's the beauty of stand-up. People will be
Also,
like, "You're acting, and the acting in your stand-up is so good." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the Daniel Day-Lewis of
I
stand-up."
did see you
The bar is way lower.
in Hustlers.
Yes, that
Yeah.
I did tell all
I
my
have an
friends
early
that
morning.
we were besties. I was like, yeah, we're like,
Oh my God.
that's like my comedian guy. We see each other all the time. Like, we need to catch up, but like, yeah, he's
It
my
is
dude.
hilarious that that's the direction the exaggerating of the friendship went.
Oh,
But you did crush it.
I thank you. It was a very fun part.
But what you said is right. Like, I think my experience, I now see my experience with tennis has helped me. Like, first time I did stand up was 10 minutes in front of 250 people, which is psychotic. Some would say,
Where?
Caroline's.
Yeah.
It was
yeah,
like
that's
for-
probably me too.
It was a podcast show.
Oh.
They were like, let's do a live podcast. And my friend was like, do 10 minutes of stand up. And I literally just like took some tweets and was like, that's a punchline. That's a premise. And I just kind of divided it into like food jokes, relationship jokes, farting jokes, and like winged it.
You're describing my current style.
You're like, that's me today.
that is.
Well, yeah, I haven't really evolved if you really want to know. So I had this, people were like, how are you not shitting yourself? And I'm like, because I'm not second serving against Duke with like my team on my back.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, this is fun for me.
Yeah.
So it like gave, and I also have that like stupid work ethic that made me good at tennis. And I say to people, just because you didn't really succeed in something, but you were good at it, like you were special, and you're not going to not be special in other things. And I feel like that's like with you with stand up, like whatever made you good at musical theater, you're putting that right into stand up. Maybe not the exact song or singing, but it's the same like stage presence that made you good. It's the same like love of performing and shit. I don't know.
I think there is a very dark timeline where like if I make it in stand up to a certain degree, like in my 60s, I released like
God.
Gianmarco Soresi sings Sondheim.
No, I am so about that. Like, I'm so about that.
Shut up! Don't pretend you're about
no,
that. No,
listen. I can see in the thing of like I always do welcome and love when you're surprised by like because also I'm too close to you, so I know you. Like if I didn't know you, that would be a weird. Interesting thing. Okay. Like I think if you found any of your favorite stand-up and you all of a sudden they were going to release an album of songs, you'd be like, I'm curious. I'm at least curious.
Well, I'm coming from think of me.
Yeah.
I'm on fucking reality TV. So I hate when people put people in a box. I hate when it's like, oh, you haven't been doing stand-up for 10 years in basements. You aren't meant to do this. Like think of like Dave.
Yeah.
He like made rap songs and then just wrote a full sitcom.
Yeah.
So like I hate when you put people in boxes. Like you have to do these levels before you do this. Like not to be like my fiance, but he was a comic in Ireland who wrote a hip hop musical and then did a documentary about like learning Mandarin and doing it in stand up. Like he doesn't have any like boundaries, and I kind of love that. And I think with you too, like you think creatively differently. So like why the fuck not put your toe in other things?
Of course. This is the nicest guest has ever been to me. I gotta say,
really-
I'm really
I hate to be
walking
that
away
friend
feeling
that
good.
I'm an enabling friend, like someone's like face tattoo, and I'm like, why not? But like, I really love when I see stand-ups. Like, sometimes it helps your creativity to, for a second, stop thinking of the same like punchline type thing and be like, what if I wrote something weird?
No, I agree. I like that too. I'm specifically saying I don't want you to write a Sondheim album. Like, but anything else? No,
William Finn, I could do.
Oh yeah, you
He's one of my
love William
favorites.
Finn.
I love
You
William
talk
Finn.
about him a lot.
He's very Jewish.
But also look at TikTok with you.
Yeah.
Like, how many comics 2 years ago would be like, TikTok is not fucking real comedy.
For
It's so fucking
sure.
stupid. If you believe them, I was like, no, I'm just going to put my head down and keep doing what I'm doing.
And now I'm getting called a pedophile by millions
Yeah.
of people
Millions
around.
of people.
The opportunity.
Oh my god.
All right, let's go to our
This has gotta stop.
This has got to stop. Do you have a This has got to stop for us?
People saying the word essentially. I think that it means nothing. I think it's stuck up. And I think it's an assault on anyone trying to make a point and just elongates things. And I don't have that kind of time.
What is someone like? How do they use it with their?
Essentially, if they say you can put it anywhere, and some people do.
It's kind of a, and
You
Gary.
can start every sentence that you with essentially.
Essentially, what you're saying
Yeah.
is, I see what you're saying.
And people do it.
Yeah, these phrases, mine for me, and Gary Goldman did a whole bit on it. And now I hear it all the time. It's at the end of the day, and I say it all the time.
People
still.
do have their.
At the end of the day, essentially. Gary Goldman, his bit is basically like, so at the end of the day, what matters is family. What's the beginning of the day? Cocaine and hookers? Like, what do you? What the fuck are you saying?
What's your shtick that you say?
I don't know what. I noticed this. I've said this before, but one time I noticed that I said granted a lot. But I noticed that I was saying the wrong word, and I noticed it, and then all of a sudden I realized I was saying granite. And I was like,
countertop
for years. Yeah. For years. Then all of a sudden when I heard myself do it, I was like, oh my God, for years I've been saying granted, but I've been saying granite. And I must have sounded so fucking stupid. And no one's ever been like, you just said granite, like instead of granted. And that now I always hear it if I do say granted, I always think granite. But I don't know if I have phrases. I didn't realize that you had at the end of the day. That doesn't.
I say it sometimes, and I think people are essentially just a kind of a amalgamation of phrases.
I know when she
Russell
said,
didn't.
when she
Russell
said,
didn't get it for about 2 seconds there. You're just like, what are people essentially?
But it also is one of those words like you saying at the end of the day, it's like whatever, but essentially has this like such like they're judging you when they're saying it. They're like essentially you're fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Did you ever This has got to stop?
I don't. Do you have one?
No, I don't.
You guys
I don't
had one
think
job.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes we just do the guests. Sometimes we come up with
this
one.
is what I don't like when you change.
Just come with some in the back of
All
your
right,
mind.
I have another one.
I have one.
You have another one?
Okay.
Yeah.
What's yours?
I had one too.
You go first.
My quick one is that I think we can't create any more national days. There's a lot of great ones, and I don't want to begrudge any ones, but I think we we've maybe oversaturated how many national days we have, and that it feels less special that every day is a national blank like day. Like I feel like sometimes I log on and it's National
Taco
Adopted Stepdaughter Day, and you're like, that doesn't feel that special. So I feel like all the ones we already have, great, keep them. But I don't think we should create any more because it feels oversaturated.
It's very easy to do it. I feel like you just have to you contact someone. Like someone created a national, Stassi Schroeder from Vanderpump Rules, National OOTD Day. She made an official day, and that's it. In a past life, I was a social media manager, and you have to be like, oh, what do I post today? So there's a calendar where it would say, like, this is National Chihuahua Day. This is National, Chips and Salsa Day. And then you would just do something about that and do the hashtag.
Yeah, it feels like it is now partially for brands and corporations to sell things.
Yes.
So you are like, so we feel that, and so you're like, I just feel like we can work with the ones we already have.
Yes.
That's a good one.
Do you have one?
Yeah, this is obnoxious. If this is so gross. If I don't do that much acting work these days, I'd be happy to be booked, but sometimes they have you on camera and you go up for breakfast and all that's there is pastries. And
oh my God.
And I'm like, listen.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed with you. You are.
I'm in front of the camera for a reason, and it's because this is not the breakfast that I eat. And
it's like some intern who doesn't understand the commitment that it takes to be on camera.
Yeah.
Made a quick.
Where are your egg whites? Your carrots.
Listen, this comes.
Would you do a granola bar?
I'll do the granola bar, but sometimes I have like junky ones. Like I'll do it.
Raw
I'll get
almonds.
by. But you don't understand. When I started acting, I did a Investigation Discovery. Do you know that channel? It's just like all murder shows. And
it's
these
my
were
favorite
shoots.
channel. ID. I watch that cable when I'm traveling.
It's watched all over, and I would be paid $50 for 3 days of work.
You'd have to die and stuff.
I'd have to die, and it was horrible.
Get
horrible
raped.
Work. Yeah, I was usually the raper, but
I love how I didn't want to say the word.
and they would like for lunch they just get you a pizza, and so for me there's just something you got to have a healthy option, and sometimes people say they're vegan and then they get a healthy option, and I'm leaning towards just being like, I'm just gonna say I'm vegan, so that like there's got to be something, and I want to be fair.
And then for lunch they bring like a chicken Cobb salad, and you're like, but I'm okay with.
They don't make you like fill out a physical to get the vegan option. Can't you just say, yeah, I want the vegan option?
They're just like, do you have any allergies? And I think the thing I'm talking about, they went out and got more things.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, I'm gonna come back. And I didn't say it aggressively. I just said, I'm just going to go grab an omelet next door. And they were like, oh, no, we'll get it.
But this is the problem. You're still like working for them and you want them to like you. So you have to decide, do I just take a croissant to the face?
Sure.
Or do I cause a little drama?
But this was smooth. This was the thing I'm talking about. But they were nice.
Yeah.
They were nice. It was something where like I had to be like on, and they treated me like, hey, whatever you need, cool.
Maybe they respected it more, like, this guy's serious about his shit.
Yeah.
I don't love when they have the healthy option and the unhealthy option because I immediately feel judged. Like, is she down to earth? Or is she one of those? And I'll take the muffin and I'll be like, I'm cool. And then, I have a sugar high, sugar low. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But if the unhealthy option's there, I do want it.
Yes. Well, that was, I worried that was, it is arrogant to be an actor because you're like, look, I gotta deliver with the moment we go. Mm-hmm.
You're like, what if I have a sugar low around Jennifer Lopez? That's not going to bode well.
Yeah. And the pastries are always left out. No one's eating them.
No.
We're all very health conscious, but like, I think they're probably cheaper. You get like, 24 pastries. Like, go get 24 pastries.
Yeah. I mean, remember Dunkin' Donuts? That was just the answer for everything growing up.
Yeah.
Like every birthday party, donuts to the face.
Just
that's not sustainable for a long-term life.
Thing, and it's always so cold. The coffee's always so cold, and you're like, just don't. I know. Listen, I'm not here to look good. I'm here to look honest. I didn't come here to make friends, but now something nice.
Your blessing.
Oh, yeah,
You better count blessing. We'll close it out with you, so you can take some time to think. I got one quick one and then one I want to talk about. First, my friend Jeff Rabenak, who listens to this podcast, he's a brilliant, he's a director, writer. He directed
Oh, I know.
Our sketch for Matza Pizza. And I had some trouble with Adobe Premiere. I'm still doing a lot of clip stuff, and he's willing to get on the phone and talk me through that shit. There's so much stuff I'm like, I should have just gone to a class because I'm doing it like not understanding it and just clicking things, and I must have spent hours just fucking up left and right.
Yep.
So there was that. I do want to say, so Jeff Rabenak, you're great, and he listens to the podcast. He's a very, very sweet guy. But my blessing is I've taken Ambien a couple times, prescribed. I've taken Ambien, and I've always been scared. Like, my mom's always like, I always be scared if I had like a beer 4 hours before. I start freaking out. I Google it. Someone died. They drank, took Ambien, died in an earthquake. And so and my mom's like, I drink and take Ambien every night. And I'm like, that's nuts. That's nuts. But I
She's like, I've tried it all. You're clear.
Yeah. But I finally, ask the doctor all the questions about like, will I die if I do this? And then and I feel more comfortable with Ambien. And I guess Ambien, one of the things is it's not supposed to be, I was worried about getting addicted. And they said Ambien, as opposed to Klonopin, Ambien was created so you don't get addicted. Bottom line is I've been taking it a little bit more frequently. I had a shoot where I had to show up at 5 a.m. And then they only had pastries. But I took that Ambien at 10 p.m., 10 milligrams. And man, it feels like heaven. If I'm ever going to kill myself, it will be with Ambien. When you wake up from an Ambien and you're in this little Ambien haze, nothing feels better.
Is it because it's hard for you to fall asleep when you know you have to get up early?
Yeah, but this also, like, I'm adjusting my sleep schedule suddenly, but I'm not a great sleeper. And Tova, famous, my girlfriend, has night terrors, and I just have anxiety.
Famously.
We've played them.
Infamously.
They've gotten so much better. It's ruined this podcast. We used to have so many night terrors.
We don't know what to talk about.
Yeah.
But man, Ambien. It's have you ever taken Ambien?
I'm one of those people who has anxiety too, and I'm so scared of any drugs. I have panic attacks with like caffeine. Panic attacks smoking weed. I'm like, for someone who partied for a living on TV, I am like the least party girl ever. So no, I've never taken Ambien, but maybe like a wild one night
for a flight.
No,
I mean, it's Ambien.
That would stress me out so much. Trying it for first time on a flight would
it's like
scare
driving.
me.
Like if you start too late, you're going to be too scared to do it. It's like, I've never done cocaine, and I'm like, why would I try cocaine at 30? Then I'd like cocaine. Like, why?
Yeah.
So maybe that's it. Also, side note, I remembered a saying that my friend says. She always says, not for nothing, but she says it about everything. And she's also not like a mafia type person where like I say, not for nothing. She's just like a waspy girl who just goes, not for nothing. And I'm just like, this is not.
I wonder where she first heard
so
it. And it was
exactly.
Like,
it's like she.
Yeah.
And she says it like, not for nothing, I'm having a croissant. And you're just like, that wasn't.
You might as well go, I'm going to have a croissant. It means nothing.
But anyway, if I ever do Ambien, not for nothing, I'll let you know.
Yeah. Trust. Oh my God. Oh, it's such a good feeling.
Oh.
I mean, it really, I'm not a drug, but like something about it, I'm like, this will be my downfall.
Oh, wow.
It's so heavy.
Has your girlfriend done it?
She takes, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. She takes, I believe it's Klonopin. And this is partly with like the night terrors. And like it's helped a lot with that. So, but she's also like a good sleeper. And it's really tough. I don't know, in your relationship, like to have someone who's a good sleeper and be a bad sleeper, there's a feeling sometimes of like frustration or anger.
Sleep
where
chemistry
she's just
is something
sleeping and
people
I'm awake.
don't talk about enough.
She wants to snuggle to go to bed, but like if I don't read, something about the act of reading turns like lessens my anxiety. So she'll want to snuggle, but then I'm like, well, if we snuggle, then I have to then like once you're out, then I have to go read.
Taking the romance out of
it's adding 30 minutes. So I
do crosswords before I go to sleep. The New York Times crossword
I should try that.
You should try that. Highly recommend. I'm with an older man who got me into it, and I'm like, this is nerdy. And then I can't do a Monday, and I still can't. It puts me right to sleep because you're trying so hard, and you're just like, what's that word? And then you fall asleep.
I'd get it. I'd be like, fuck, what's the fucking word? God damn it. Tova, wake up.
I can't fall asleep until I get this word. Tova, get the fuck up.
It gets easier every day. That's the premise.
It gets harder every day. Monday's the easiest.
So you just said you can't do Monday either.
No.
So Friday, what happens? You just draw pictures?
Oh, I haven't touched it. He's like, you struggling with a Monday again, babe? And I'm like, yeah. I'm stupid. I thought they say if you keep doing it, you get better because you learn how crosswords are done. Hasn't happened yet
true?
for me.
I don't think that's. It's about like knowing random shit. Having a
Crosswords,
good memory.
they like certain words. Or like for example, they love the word emit. Like there's 4-letter words that you'll know that I'll know, but if you did for the first time, you'll be like, what fucking word do they want? I'll be like, emit. They love that word.
Oh.
Blessing.
Me. So we hired a trainer for our dog. And
What kind of dog?
He's a pit bull.
I love pit bulls.
I know, and he's so good. Like it's like
he's a good boy.
It's like I thought he was going to be good, but the training, he's getting everything so quick, and it's like to the point where when you're like you tell him to like be on his little place, his little mattress like that we keep by the balcony, he will not move from there.
Is he a baby?
He's 3. He was in a shelter for like
when
3
did you
years.
adopt him?
2-3 months ago.
Sorry, I have a lot of questions. I'm very into this topic.
Yeah, no, he's amazing. He's very sweet, and he really wants. When you're like, oh, you really want to listen. Also, you feel a little bad because you're like, I mean, he's not at home, so he is like trying to like be like good and like listen and like, but he is, and he's taken to the training so quick, and he's great on walks, and he is like he learned fetch so quick and drops it right away.
What's his name?
His name's Ziggy. He came with the name Ziggy.
What's interesting is you feel like you're like kind of dominating them, but some dogs like want to be dominated.
Yes,
I didn't mean to get this sexual, but you know what I mean.
No, they want to, and
they want structure.
The trainer brought up a good thing. You're like with pit bulls, you're like they have so much energy. You're never gonna like out energize them physically. So you can go on all these walks, but you really have to play with them and do mental stuff with them to tire them out because he needs the mental stuff because
it's like where they put the thing with peanut butter in it that's like impossible
Kong,
to get.
yeah.
The Kong.
Yeah.
So during quarantine, when I met my fiance, he was fostering pit bulls, which is like hot, kind of like you're like, if you could train that pit bull, you can handle me possibly. And but I just learned that pit bulls are the like sweetest animals.
Oh my
Have you watched the Michael Vick documentary?
I have not.
Oh my God, you're gonna be crying hysterically. It's basically about how these pit bulls, they try to be like, we have to kill all these pit bulls. They're all monsters. And they're like, no. They need therapy. They're just abused animals. And they show these over months of them being treated right. Like some of them can't go near stairs because it reminds them of where they had to go to fight. But they're just such loyal creatures.
They're so loyal.
They're able to. They were. Sorry, I know a lot about pit bulls. They were America's like family dog in the 1900s.
Oh, I
that
didn't know
got
that.
rebranded to be like bad boys.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they've had bad branding and but I feel like I didn't have a pit bull until our last dog that passed away, but when I had our last dog I was like, "Oh, this is what I always want," because they are so loyal. They're so loving. Like they just want to be on you, like staring at you and like it's so they're so
I'm working
smushy.
on a stand-up bit right now and I don't have a punchline yet, but it's about pit bulls because we adopted a 15-year-old senior pit bull.
Oh my God.
He's like brindle. His name's Romeo. He is the cutest, but so energetic. And we're like, what were you like when you were 2? You must have been a pain in the ass, but he's so cute. But people are like, oh, pit bull. And so I did research. Turns out 75% of dog bites are not necessarily like specifically pit bulls. They're unneutered males. And then I did research into like violent crimes with humans, and that's 80% of it is unneutered males. So it's just a dick cutting joke, but there's more to it and I don't know where we're at yet.
I like that. I like that.
The crowd tightens up a bit but the truth is that pit bulls are just like incredible animals that have such a bad rep.
Yeah. Well, and it is funny too talking to people about training because like some people also have dogs and they're like, oh, that's great. Like, it's going so well. Like, they're like, our dog is crazy. But and you're like, no, your dog can be crazy and can bark a lot and can like nip and like, but my dog can't because it freaks people out and rightfully so.
You're so
and so it's like a double.
Why do you think little dogs are so annoying? Because no one trains them because they don't have to train them because what is it going to do? What's it going to do? Just be annoying?
And it can just yap and bark and blah, blah, and you're fine with it. But my dog barks and it's like, oh, it's an issue. Everyone's like, what the fuck is that?
No, when you're walking
doing?
down the street,
you know,
people will cross the street because you're walking a pit bull.
Well, what's funny is my wife in our neighborhood, we live up in Inwood. In our neighborhood, a lot of pit bulls, and it's like a oh, they got a pit bull, great. But in one time we were babysitting one of our friends' like designer dogs, and people were like, "What the fuck is that?" Like it was.
Do you know pit bulls are not allowed in dog parks?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Like that's fucked.
It's wild. Yeah,
fucked up. What's the color scheme of your dog? Or
He's
something?
light brown.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to the dog side. We have one final lesson to go. Man, it is so funny. As a person without a dog, when dog people get going, you just kind of sit back and you're like, all right.
You know what's funny
All
though?
right, here we go.
I'm crazy. I'm actually a cat person.
Oh, I love
Really?
cats. I have a cat too. I mean, I'm both.
Wait, are your cat and Pitbull friends?
Fuck
they
me.
they ignore each other, and
But
that's
good.
because
That's good.
the dog would be more interested.
Gianmarco,
Yeah.
that's good.
That's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
What's your blessing?
Oh my God.
That has nothing to do with
Oh my
the dog.
God. Okay. It's so funny. I told myself, I'm like, I do better under pressure, so I haven't thought about it, and I just thought about it. Aquaphor.
Is this the
I'm
thing
grateful for.
Is that the thing I put on my lips when it's chapped?
Yes.
Yeah, I have an Aquaphor bottle.
People don't fuck with Aquaphor as much as they should because chapstick, I'm convinced, is a conspiracy theory that like A, they know you're gonna lose it. B, it makes your lips like addicted to whatever's in it. Where Aquaphor, they're not playing that game. They're like, here's a huge tub of it and put it on your lips. And I do think as things dry out and it gets colder in New York City, putting on Aquaphor will change my whole mood because having dry lips can ruin a day.
Yeah, Tove and
The
I.
way you're so seriously watching right now,
you
like
get chapped?
I'm giving a TED talk on something. He's like, yes, not for nothing. Aquaphor slaps.
I know. Tove and I, we
Essentially,
both got
it
chapped
is,
lips, and we've been using the Aquaphor.
I'm happy you guys are both on Aquaphor. I thought I was going to convert you, but we
I'm
don't
there.
have to.
You use anything?
I don't know the name or I will use a thing where my wife says you should use something right now. But I
Tova
don't
definitely introduced me to Aquaphor.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people don't know about it, and it's important to get through the winter
I like that about
months.
chapsticks though, because I've gone to a point where there's probably 20 chapsticks just around. Like I have enough. It's there's enough that like I can just be like, oh, where's the chapstick? Oh,
Yep.
it's here. Here's one.
Yep.
There's enough.
Yeah.
But they're
they're
very
tricking
small.
you into
But like, what do you think people did before chapstick? And I know it doesn't seem like an essential item, but did you just walk around with your lips bleeding? That sucks.
I'm sure it's gross.
Or
People
were
smell
people fine because
chapstick.
they never got addicted to chapstick?
Sure. Well, that's the other thing about like people who didn't shower and eventually you're fine after 60 days. You don't smell.
Oh.
Yeah, there's
Is there
some
like a
people who
Super
don't
Size
shower.
Me documentary like that?
There's about people who don't shower that like your body creates something where you stop smelling too bad. But they're definitely like a time period where it's gnarly.
I've walked around New York City and I don't think that's true.
I've never gone a day without showering.
Have you ever been in the subway in the summer? It's not true.
Yeah.
Smelly time. Well, Hannah Berner, anything you want to plug?
I'm on tour right now, hannahberner.com, BERN. I'm going to West Coast. I'm going to be in Florida. I'm going to be in Maryland, Arizona. And then follow me at Being Burns on all platforms. And then listen to my podcasts, Giggly Squad and Burning in Hell. And my family, I'll tell you about them too. No, I'm just kidding.
Russell, you want to plug the Uncle Function
Yes,
show?
Uncle Function, November 4th, Thursday, November 4th at Asylum NYC.
Ooh, that's fun.
Me, it's always on the Instagram, but I'm headlining in Norwalk, Connecticut, October 30th. Headlining in Honolulu, Hawaii on November 3rd. Please, I don't know if we have any Hawaii listeners, but send it to your Hawaii friends. And see Uncle Function, of course. And just look at my site. Oh, well, headlining a DC Comedy Loft Thanksgiving weekend. I grew up in Maryland, so please.
Oh, cool.
Well, normally I get all these people from high school, middle school, but I'm finally at that age where they all have started to have their own families.
Yes.
And I don't know if they're going to be going home or their parents have died. And
yeah.
I'm very nervous about the turnout.
Yeah.
So please, November 26th.
Call a
November
babysitter.
27th, DC Comedy Loft. Bring the kids. Fuck it. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And I think it's important, not
Have
for
a night
not.
for yourself.
What was that?
Have a night for yourself.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry. I was
please.
still talking about
Yeah,
that.
no, I was. It's fine. It's.
Oh, you're doing not for nothing.
I was trying. I was
to
really doing
close
a
out.
great
He's
wrap up.
Trying to
I
figure
tried
out
to
how
end
every
close out.
episode.
I
where-
blocked you. I'm so sorry about that.
The
The closer, I just shat on it.
Well, not for nothing. At the end of the day, pit bulls, like every animal, are essentially killers just looking out for their own well-being. And if they were starving, just like human beings, they would eat you. This is the downside.
Oh my God.
Bye.